Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and this weekend we had the 6th and 7th races of Formula E 2024, and I have to say I was disappointed by really just how stupid this all was, and the fact that everyone kind of knew this was going to be a silly weekend for Formula E. I don't get a hard on for chafing cream. I don't watch motorsport to watch the cars race in some form of peloton thing. If I wanted to watch that, I'd watch the Tour de France. This was ridiculous. It's not what I tuned in to watch. And it has shaken the championship up, I'll grant it that. We don't really know what the results are yet because there are appeals underway. So the result of the first race could change at some point in the future. The championship is really close, and we're almost halfway through the year now, and you're sort of getting an idea of who the real title contenders are. Others are drifting off, but this was just not good racing. If someone's leading, they should want to hold on to that lead for dear life. The fact that they swap every lap because no one wants to be at the front because they don't want to give the other cars behind them an energy advantage. I'm not sure if there's a way around this. Give the cars so much power that they don't need to follow each other, but are they at like the complete max? Can they have a bit more power stored? Force them to do more regen? Is there a way to measure that? I presume there is, but again, is it just a case of how much regen they can actually do whilst like moving? Like if it's too much, we'll just stop the car. And again, that would be dangerous too, I guess. But if you're going to have races at tracks like Misano, and you know there's long straights, do something about this. Or just don't have them at tracks like this. Put some chicanes on the straight so that they're never really going flat out in a straight line for too long. There were a few incidents in this. Nick Cassidy, who started the year off brilliantly, has had a rough couple of races. He got bumped out of the first race. He damaged his front wing, it was on his wheels, and he had to pit. We also saw Pascal Wehrlein also coming to the pit because he had damage. With a fair few others. Some teams had a really bad weekend, some had a really good weekend. Oliver Rowland again did brilliantly in the first race, and he ended up winning it because Antonio Felix da Costa was disqualified, but that did mean that Rowland was on the podium 4 races in a row and in real title contention at that point. And he has a race win under his belt. I think it's only his second in Formula E and his first in 4 years. So that was really good, and it's not that it's not entertaining. It just looks silly. Jaguar had an awful weekend, really. Mitch Evans did not score any points this weekend. And we did see some odd point scorers. Nico Müller finished 4th in the first... No, Dan Tickton finished 4th in the first race. Nico Müller finished 4th in the second race. So ERT and Abt Cooper scored decent points this weekend. Lucas Di Grassi scored his first points of the year. Jehan Daruvla managed to score his first points for Maserati, but again, I think it was because others struggled with energy or retired. It did mix the field up. Mahindra are the only team not to score any points, and their drivers are the only ones not to score any points now. So everyone else is on the board at least. ERT, Neo, whatever you want to call them, they're having their best year since really the first or second. It's been a long time since they've scored this many points, and they're only halfway through the year. So Dan Tickton and Sergio Sette Camara are doing a hell of a job for ERT. That has to be said. And both races were very similar. Packs tightly packed because no one wants to stop drafting because they've got to save energy. And then the last sort of 6-7 laps, it did start to, like, gaps started to form at least. And Oliver Rowland looked like he's going to make it a double, which would have been very interesting for the championship. It was surprising that he's done as well as he has already. He took 2 wins and had the championship lead 7 races into the season. It would be shocking. Nissan, again, or another team who have not had a good season for... It's been 4 or 5 years at least. And unfortunately, whether it was a miscalculation or something wrong with the car, or he didn't read the energy back properly or something. He broke down on the last lap and Pascal Wehrlein won, which puts Wehrlein in the championship lead, tied on points with Jake Dennis, who did have a very good weekend. He finished second in both races. They have the exact same points. Wehrlein is our only double winner of 2024 so far, so Wehrlein is leading the championship on countback. Nick Cassidy's not too far behind, nor is Oliver Rowland. And there's some others, like John Eric Verne is still in title contention. Maxi Günther didn't score points in the second race, and that ended the run of finishing races in the points, because after the first Misano race, he was the only one who had throughout the season. Now, no one has. But Maxi Günther is having a fantastic season as well, very consistent. Maybe not getting the outright results consistently enough, but he is still scoring decent points for Maserati. So we're sort of getting this field start to pull away in the championship, sort of the top 6 or 7 cars. Antonio Felix da Costa is having a rough year. He won the first race, but was disqualified for... It was interesting. It was I think it was a throttle component that was from the Gen 2 car, and therefore was not regulation on the Gen 3 car. And Porsche are appealing it apparently. So again, as I said at the start, this result might change. But as it stands, Porsche should have won both races. Other than that, everything else, it was just, there were so many cars retired because they just made contact with someone and damaged their front wing and had to get the front wing off the tyres. Or we saw Freins go off, as he did. Buemi retired from the second race as well. It was not a good race for Envision. And if it wasn't front wings, a lot of them had their rear lights dangling where they've been hit from behind because everyone keeps slowing down more than they usually would to let other cars through, and then other drivers aren't prepared for it and hit them. And Jean-Eric Verne in the first race was ridiculous. He got hit so many times. There's so many parts of his car were missing. I'm surprised it was still continuing on. You wouldn't see that in Formula 1. After one of those impacts, the Formula 1 car would have retired. These Formula E cars are tough, and because they're not aero dependent, when they do lose bits of the front wing or the rear wing or whatever else, they do seem to continue on until they take a really big hit. So that's good at least. The other thing at this round was, I thought we were supposed to be getting the fast charging, which didn't happen, which is disappointing because it actually might have done something about this, like, riding in formation problem they have. And does that mean we're not seeing it this year, or they delayed it? I don't know. And I'm sure there's been reports of why, or maybe it was announced earlier in the year and I just didn't notice. But I was kind of looking at how that would change things up, and I'm disappointed that we didn't get it here. Maybe someone's realised that either fast charging is really dangerous and might cause cars to explode, or just generally that electricity is probably not the way to go for the future. I do wonder what's going to happen with Formula E, because you have other series changing to hydrogen, others going back to petrol. There aren't going to be many electric series left come 2025. So maybe someone's realised it's not a good idea to invest in these technologies, and we might be moving in a different direction for Formula E. It'll be interesting to see if anything's announced before the end of the year regarding a hydrogen-based single-seater series. Other than that, attack modes didn't really help this race either, because it just gave drivers an opportunity to switch around out the lead. It was just an annoying race. Both races were annoying. Both races were very similar, and it's not that it was unentertaining. Like, a lot of stuff was happening. It's just silly. It's silly, and they could have done something about this, because they knew it was going to happen, because it's happened before. It's happened several times before. Racing in Formula E is better when it's not like this. And we are moving to more circuits, which I'm not surprised, because street circuits must be an absolute nightmare to set up. Nothing wrong with that. I don't mind that. But you need to think about what works for your series and what doesn't, and what changes you can make to make it work. And if Formula E is going to continue on like this, and they're going to continue at tracks like this, they need to sort this out. There needs to either be rules brought into place, regulations, whatever, or changes to the car, the power system, the energy system. No added laps in this one either, which I thought was a bit strange. and it's not really consistent with the rules across the whole series at other races, whatever. This was just a messy weekend for Formula E. It does keep the championship interesting, but I don't think it was worth it. We'll have to see. In a few weeks' time, we go to Monaco, and I feel like Formula E's not necessarily had that many entertaining races at Monte Carlo, but I would have to go back and check that. I can't really remember. You could check by going and watching my Let's Watch Formula E series, which I've been doing, and the final 2 races of Season 3 will be up at some point in the next week. I will continue to watch Formula E as well as every other form of motorsport going. Formula 1 is back on our screens next week in China, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of these sort of things, as well as other things that I do. I do quite a lot. And with that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. What did you think of this Formula E race? Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.